sticking with the baseball analogy, I think it's definitely right. Like full arch is your home run. Even really good offices then are going to strike out a lot. If the new patient, the normal procedure stuff, if that's in order and your marketing is consistent and steady, that gives you the safety net to swing for the fences.
So it's like you don't go get GP squared away. You then start spending $10,000, $20,000 a month on full arch. You then strike out on full arch because full arch operationally is way harder than GP and it's binary. It's either home run or strike out. With GP, you can hit a lot of singles and just be really, really successful.
And you're going to have a higher no-show rate. You're going to have a lower case acceptance rate with full arch. Some money is better than no money.
Welcome back to another episode of the Full Arch Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more full arch cases so you can grow the way that you want, but you can't grow if you're trying to add full arch on top of broken systems. And I see this happen all the time. I deal with angry clients. And today, my guest is my friend and our VP of sales at SMC National, Ted. And he's been in the dental industry for many, many years. Not only has he worked with multiple different marketing companies that you've heard of, but he's also worked in other industries as well. And he really understands this problem around full arch. And one thing, Ted, that I've seen is that I see GP offices who have, I'll be generous, not the greatest systems around GP. Like they don't have everything dialed in. They don't have answering the phone dialed in. They don't have their schedule dialed in. They don't have treatment presentation dialed in. They don't have patient financing dialed in. And then they go, you know what, to make more money, I want to add full arch on top of that. And what I've seen is it's impossible.
Yeah.
Like if your GP operations aren't ready, full arch is just, you're dumping gasoline on top of a chaos fire.
Yeah, I think a lot of times too, it's not even necessarily that they don't have the process. It's that they don't truly understand what their process is. A lot of offices can succeed, frankly, in spite of themselves and do it at one office, two office. We really saw it pretty heavily working with DSOs when they keep working to multiple offices. And it's like, well, why isn't this working at office 3, office 4? It's like, well, you were just really lucky with the office manager and spot number 1, or you had an amazing team in office number 2 that always answered the phone and they just naturally prided themselves on it. And you didn't really have a system in place to make it work in the first place. So now you're adding the complexity of a full arch sale, which is frankly like kind of different than the traditional way of converting a prospective patient, getting them in the door. You're changing the sort of process on how you're dealing with them. And if the office doesn't know how to work their normal stuff, they're certainly not going to know how to work the tougher or different stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So what I've seen work really well, and I've seen you actually do this with several clients, is like the clients come to us, and of course, every baseball player wants to hit home runs, every single one of them, right? And everybody wants to hit a home run every single time you go up to the plate. But the only problem with that is then your batting averages fall and it doesn't really work from a winning strategy. So I see these clients go, Gary, I want to have a bazillion full arch cases. And it's like, okay, tell me a little bit about your current business model though. And what I've seen you do so well is like, okay, but before we do full arch, let's make sure that all your GP operations are dialed in, answering the phone, converting on the phone, scheduling properly, patient financing, getting patients to say yes. And that business is healthy because then you can add full arch on top of that and it's not as hard. But if you try to do it before that, it's just going to be a guaranteed loss. And so you've kind of educated people to be able to do that and set them up for success. Can you kind of walk through that, like what you see around that?
Yeah, I mean, sticking with the baseball analogy, I think it's definitely right. Like full arch is your home run. And even really good offices then are going to strike out a lot. And I've seen offices that do a good job of converting a full arch lead into other procedures. Don't get me wrong, but you really are trying to hit this $20,000 to $40,000 case, depending on where you are in the country. And the more effective way to deal with that is you're gonna go to the Hall of Fame if you hit a lot of singles and a lot of doubles. So if the GP, if the new patient, if the normal procedure stuff, if that's in order and your ROI and your marketing, if all of that is consistent and steady, that gives you the safety net to swing for the fences because you are going to strike out some of the time. You need that safety net of being able to have the predictability of the GP. And then once you can stabilize your office and you know what you're doing, what your ROI is on the GP, that then frees up budget or allows you to reallocate or to bring on the associate so you can go focus on the full arch because you're tired of doing fill and drill or whatever the case. It allows that safety, that freedom to do it.
Yeah, because here's what happens if you don't. So let's talk about the bad part, right? So it's like you don't go get GP squared away. You then start spending $10,000-$20,000 a month on full arch. You then strike out on full arch because full arch operationally is way harder than GP.
Yep.
And it's binary. That's the part that most people don't understand. Meaning, what I mean by that is it's either a yes or a no. There's no middle winning. There's no singles. It's either home run or strike out. With GP, you can hit a lot of singles and just be really, really successful. And so if you don't have things dialed in with your marketing on the GP side yet, and you're trying to add full arch on top of it, all you're adding is complexity.
Yeah.
And then both are going to fail.
Absolutely. And you're going to have a higher no-show rate. You're going to have a lower case acceptance rate with full arch. It doesn't matter like how good the lead is. There's still going to be people that just aren't prepared to put in the price of a car in their mouth. Like that's going to come up. And there is going to be more no-shows. So spots that could be steady income from GP, you've now bogged down because you're trying to dedicate to this full arch side, which is okay if you figured this out and you have that steady amount of a GP. But if it's eating up revenue, even if it's smaller revenue, some money is better than no money.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, so let's walk through so let's pretend I'm a GP office and we're doing a sales call. How are you going to tell me that I'm ready for full arch when that time is right? Like, how would I know, okay, I'm where I need to be and I'm in a healthy place to start adding bigger treatment to my practice? Yeah,
I think first thing would be, is your team prepared? Or at least do they think they're prepared just like you are, Doc? Because there's going to be a lot more work on them. Like you could build this beautiful car, but if it takes hours and hours and hours to load it on the trunk, it's going to back everything up. But assuming that that's in order and the team's right.
So I want specifically. Yeah. So how do I know my house is in order for GP around my team? Like, what are some things that you look at to say, yes, this person, my team is ready.
Yeah.
For my team is doing a good job with GP. And now I'm ready to take that next step.
You consistently know how many new patients you're getting. You know where they're coming from. And the number is steady enough that you can make educated marketing decisions and budget allocation, either adding it or moving it around to other places. So you know what you're going to get regardless of this change or this addition of full arch. You are bringing in enough new patients to support the growth of the practice and to support the budgeting and that home run aspect of full arch. So you got to have that in order. And that includes converting on the phone, things that we talk about all the time, not scheduling them too far out because you've built a lot of empty spaces in for these potential people coming in for full arch. Are they coming in a reasonable time? Are you scheduling quickly? Are you getting them in the chair? Are you recaring them or getting them on the books for recare? Do you have a sustainable business that you don't have to do a lot of work to maintain monthly, the up and down? So that gives you the freedom to pursue what is, let's be honest, like if you really, really get into full arch, you almost have to be an exclusive full arch office. So this is like a business within a business for it to be successful. So you need to have enough free time, frankly, and predictability in the GP side that you can dedicate team members in the time to pursue this other part.
Okay, so so your team is ready to be able to capture leads on the GP side, convert them, bring them in. That means you have to be measuring it, right? And so that's really, really important. What is your conversion rate on the phones? What is your show rate for marketing new patients? Are they buying treatment when they come in? If that's not figured out, do not add full arch yet. But let's assume those things are figured out. The next complicated part that Ted kind of put the poison pill in there for you guys is that you need dedicated people to full arch. Just like you need a dedicated clinician. They can do GP too, but they have to be focused just on full arch when they're doing full arch. You need people on the front end of your business focused on full arch, because if you think they're just going to come in through the same line as GP, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. The story needs to be different from the moment they talk to you on the phone. It's a different process. Like if you're coming in as a GP new patient, man, everybody in the office should know. You come in, we can get you about this far out. This is who you meet with. This is what's going to happen. Full arch is a different process. There's consultations, there's scans, there's all these different pieces. Financing, something that a lot of offices don't have to lead with, or the whole office doesn't need to know. All of those things become a different sales process, and you really need until, like I said, your office is potentially a full arch office, you need a dedicated team to be in charge of these things because they're going to be the sole source of answers running this aspect of the business.
Some good stuff, Ted. Any other things that people should be thinking through? So as they're either just starting to add full arch and they're struggling, or they're thinking about adding full arch and they're like a GP practice, is there anything else that they should be thinking about?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is, it takes, if you're thinking of a funnel, it takes a very wide opening to end up with a full arch completion. The doctor needs to see, frankly, usually a couple of people in the chair and to close one arch. And that means there's going to be, doesn't matter how good you are, there's going to be a couple of people that no show. There's going to be a couple of people that don't answer. There's going to be a couple of leads that are unqualified. So thinking to get down to that one, the arch, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, this funnel, making sure that every team member associated with this project, from the answering to the treatment planning to doc to the person presenting the case, with all those pieces, that you're all in alignment with capacity and you're all in alignment speaking the same sales song. The whole organization needs to know the who, what, when, where, why. And so training is often one of those that gets kind of neglected. Doc can do the procedure and is sitting there waiting for that one arch, but there's dozens of leads that need to get worked through to get to that point. And if the whole office isn't there, it's never going to make it to the doc. So training is incredibly important.
Great stuff, man. Awesome. Well, if you guys have any questions, you can go to SMC National. You can reach both Ted and I there. But this is a really big topic because more and more people are coming into GP and they think it's easy, and it's not. If you think GP is hard, full arch is 20 times more harder, right? Like, it's just from a marketing and operational standpoint, let alone clinical. So thank you so much for coming on, Ted, and just being honest and straight up with what the problems are. And I think this will help people level up.
Absolutely. Thank you.